So this chapter, conversation between Manu and Kardama. So Manu means, which Manu? Swayambhuva Manu. So Kardama Muni underwent severe austerities for 1,000 years to have a suitable girl as his wife. So by pleased with his austerities, the Lord has appeared. So the Lord appreciates his endeavors because his endeavor was not against the Vedic principles. In one of the previous verses where the Supreme Lord himself is speaking to Kardama, so Lord is saying, having come to know that what was in your mind, I have already arranged for that which you have worshipped me well through your mental and sensual discipline. So yes, he wanted to marry, but he, unlike the current society, what we see, marriage is taken as a mere opportunity for sexual enjoyment. But Kardama Muni's purpose was completely different. So the Lord is appreciating him because he has performed austerity through mental and sensual discipline, perfectly controlling his senses. So he has approached the Supreme Lord directly. So then after appreciating him, the Lord has told, I have already selected a suitable match for you. So just like in any transactions we say, no, so and so date, so and so time meeting will happen. So the Lord also is very particular here. The Lord is saying, the day after tomorrow, the celebrated emperor Swayambhuva Manu, who is expert in religious activities, will come here with his queen Śatarūpā, wishing to see you. So I've already arranged to fulfill your desires. So the girl's father, mother, along with the girl, they will come to see you day after tomorrow. So in the next verse, here the Supreme Lord is describing the features of the girl to Kardama Muni. So the Lord is saying, so that emperor Swayambhuva, he has a grown-up daughter whose eyes are black. She is ready for marriage. Ultimately, the girl should be of marriageable age. And she has a good character, Sushila. Sheela means with good characters. And all good qualities, Gunan Vitham. She possesses all good qualities. She is also searching for a good husband. My dear sir, here surprisingly or uncommonly, the Lord is addressing Kardama Muni as my dear sir. So here, like Anurupaya te Prabho. So the Lord is addressing Kardama as Prabhu, my dear sir. So my dear sir, her parents will come to see you when? Day after tomorrow. Who are exactly suitable for her just to deliver their daughter as your wife. So in the Varnashrama, different ashramas are there. Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. Each and every ashrama is a bona fide ashram. But before one even desires to enter into any of the ashram in that way, one has to know what are the rules and regulations of that particular ashram. In the Vedic literatures, there are SOPs, standard operating procedures. There are rules and regulations defined for each and every ashram. Very well-defined set of rules and regulations. So even if you want to get married, there is a process. What is the process? You will not go on hunting for very heavily Prabhupada is writing in this purport. If some modern so-called thinkers or feminists, if they read this, it will be another issue, controversy. But whereas this is the fact, because this is the SOP given by in the Vedic literatures. If you really want to lead a Brahminical life, Brahminical Brahmachari life or Brahminical Grihastha life, you have to follow. If you don't follow, what will happen? All unwanted things will happen, unwanted progenies will be born. We see so many, molestation cases, rape cases, murders, dowry cases, so many things happening. It's all because of what? Having wrong expectations and not following the proper procedures. If you follow this procedure like Kardama, he wanted to get married. What is he doing? He underwent tapasyas. Here Brahma and even Brahma also gets involved in his marriage process. So the Supreme Lord has to personally intervene and he is searching for a suitable match. So this is the actual process. Similarly for a girl also, Prabhupada in the Purport mentions the selection of a good husband for a good girl was always entrusted to the parents. So the parent searches for a suitable match, whether for a girl or a boy. Actually both are same. But here it is referred because it is referring to Devahuti and Kardama Muni's this thing. So here it is Prabhupada is referring to girl. Even the boy's case also, a proper search, suitable match has to be found, family background, all those compatibility has to be checked. Then only the marriage should happen. Then only the marriage can survive or marriage can sustain. So further Prabhupada mentions here it is clearly stated that Manu and his wife were coming to see Kardama Muni to offer their daughter because the daughter was well qualified and parents were searching out a similar qualified man. So that the process has to be followed. The process is already defined. What happens if one follow the process? Keep aside even spirituality, even materially speaking, if someone follows the Vedic principles or Vedic process, even materially with some material desires, they do get those desires fulfilled. They become materially powerful. Then what to speak of spirituality? If with a spiritual desire, with a desire to attain that Brahman, if you follow the process, definitely one will see a result happening in his life. The best example is, we have so many such examples. One of the example is Gandhari. So when she gets to know that, her the would-be husband is born blind, he cannot see the world. So she voluntarily blindfolds herself. And what was the result? Of course, this was nothing to do with anything with spirituality, but morally, as a duty of a devoted wife, like it is mentioned here, like, Sheela, Gunanvitam. So as a Sheela, as a Sushila wife, she followed because the thing which my husband won't be able to see, even I should not see. So what was the result? Her vision became so powerful. Just by seeing at another person, she could turn his body into thunderbolt, like Vajrakaya. Vajrakaya means his body became as strong as diamond, means it was unbreakable. So even materially, she followed a material principle, material process. So same thing if someone follows for spirituality. Here Kardama is actually desiring, and another astonishing thing is that he is desiring to get married. Of course, the purpose was, to get a very qualified wife and then to beget a qualified son who is going to give such wonderful instructions in the upcoming chapters we'll get to know. But for that also, why Lord has to come personally? We are followers of devotional process. Our acharyas, our sampradaya teach us about nivrutti marga. That's why we strongly believe that one should be a pure, unalloyed devotee to see the Supreme Lord, to attain the Supreme Lord, or to have his darshan. That's what we strongly believe. But there are cases when even with some material desire, with some material motive, if someone worships the Lord, sometimes the Lord appears them. That means that this shows that the Lord is accessible for everyone. But now it depends on what you are going to ask, what we are going to pray from the Lord. So by following these processes, irrespective of which varna and which ashrama, one can perfect his life. One can become materially as well as spiritually strong. So here the classic example of Kardama Muni's marriage with Devahuti is that one should follow the process. By following that, one becomes very powerful. One will get spiritual potency. So similarly, for every ashrama, there are rules and regulations set forth. Like here, we are seeing what are the rules, what are the processes to be followed for a grihastha ashrama. So similarly, for each and every ashram, there are rules and regulations very clearly defined, very clearly set aside. So in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Prahlad Maharaj and his teachings, after describing that, so Narada Muni and Yudhishthir Maharaj continue to discuss about different spiritual and social orders. So Narada Muni gives instructions to Yudhishthir Maharaj. Yudhishthira is inquiring and Narada Muni is answering. So in one of the chapters, he describes about the entire 4 varnas. Then he comes to ashramas. So he first describes about brahmachari ashram. Like Prabhupada says, if you want to become a grihastha, first you need to be a good brahmachari. What is the meaning of brahmachari? One who has undergone proper training, one who has properly being trained to control his senses, how to engage the senses for the service of the Lord. So what is the meaning of different ashramas? What are the rules and regulations to be followed? So when he is sufficiently trained in these principles, then when he gets into grihastha ashrama, he will understand what he is supposed to do in the grihastha ashrama. Then he will be a very good grihastha. Then he can become a Krishna conscious children. So that's why one has to be a good brahmachari before becoming a good grihastha. That Kardama Muni has already followed all these processes. So now what are the duties of a brahmachari? What he is supposed to practice? So Narada Muni is teaching to Yudhishthir Maharaj. So the first principle Narada Muni says is, the first duty of a disciple is brahmachare gurukule vasandhanto gurur hitam acharam dashavan nicho gurur shraddha surudaha. Narada Muni said, a student should practice complete controlling his senses. The first and foremost for a brahmachari is to practice controlling his senses. And how to practice that? Under the care of a spiritual master. He should be submissive and should have an attitude of his firm friendship for the spiritual master. With a great vow, brahmachari should live at the Gurukula only for the benefit of Guru. It's a very clear principle. How a brahmachari, first of all, what he should do? He should approach a Guru and live at Guru's ashram. For what? For Gurur Hitam, for the benefit of the Guru, for the pleasure of the Guru. Then Guru will teach what you are supposed to do. If someone goes with an intention ki, no, I want to study this, I want to read this, I don't want to do these do's and don'ts. No, do's and don'ts don't apply in Gurukul. In a brahmachari life. In a brahmachari life means whatever Guru has told, you just have to practice. It is where Guru Hitam, not Swahitam. So in these conditions, one should practice completely controlling the senses. Then further, Narada Muni describes, at both junctions of day and night, namely in the early morning and in the evening, you should be fully absorbed in the thoughts of the spiritual master, fire, sun god, Lord Vishnu, and by chanting the Gayatri mantra, you should worship them. So brahmachari duty, brahmachari principles are like Dhyayanstuvamstasya Yashastri Sandhya, remembering the spiritual master, Supreme Lord, like it is mentioned about sun god, fire, through chanting of Gayatri mantra. So when a devotee is given a brāhmaṇa diksha, so the Gayatri mantra is given. So those who have already received brāhmaṇa diksha will be able to relate. So in that Gayatri, what are we actually doing? 3 times a day, we are remembering sun god from the first mantra, then spiritual master, then Gauranga, then Krishna, Then Kama Gayatri, again another form of Krishna to control our senses. So what Narada Muni is telling, same thing which is mentioned in the Gayatri Mantra, which we are supposed to do 3 times a day. So it's not a ritual. It's a process a brahmachari should follow, so that he can practice controlling his senses. Then further, I'll skip some of the portions. I'll just take out relevant portions from that chapter. So further, Narada Muni explains, the brahmachari should go out morning and evening to collect alms, and he should offer all that he collects to the spiritual master. He should eat only if required to. He should eat only if ordered to take food by the spiritual master. Otherwise, if the spiritual master does not give this order, he may sometimes have to fast. So, whatever we collect, here it is mentioned about begging alms. So, whatever service we do has to be authorized by the spiritual master. I will not do in my whimsical way. I will do what I like. I'll do what I don't do what I do not like. So the likes and dislikes are basically a bodily concept of life. What is the very purpose of coming to Krishna consciousness? To become free from the bodily concept of life. Ichcha, dvesha, samuthena, dvandva, mohena, bharata. Krishna is giving instruction to Arjuna and saying, one has to become free from ichcha and dvesha, desire and hatred. These are called dvandva, dualities. One has to rise above these dualities. So what is like for a disciple or a brahmachari? Whatever spiritual master has said, that should become his likes, ichcha. And what should be hatred, dvesha? Whatever has not been told by spiritual master, or what further Narada Muni tells what is not supposed to do, those things also Narada Muni explains. So they should be like our principles. They should become ichcha and dvesha, not my own desires. And when we when we produce result in any of our services, whether it is preaching, collecting Lakshmi or Pujari, any service in that way. So we have to offer, the result should be offered to the Guru. And if the Guru calls for the prasadam, then only he should take. If not, he has to fast. So that means that, you should obey spiritual master orders. So not do sense gratification, just practice his instructions. Then further, Narada Muni explains, a brahmachari or one who has not accepted a grihastha ashrama, brahmachari or one who has not accepted grihastha ashrama must rigidly avoid talking with women or about women, for the senses are so powerful that they may agitate even the mind of a sannyasi, a member of the renounced order of life. So Narada Muni explained do's. What are the do's? You should live in the Gurukul for the pleasure of the Guru, for his benefit, and you should control his senses. You should remember the Guru, the Lord, and throughout the day, at least morning and evening, here it is mentioned. And you should go out and beg alms, bring it to Guru, submit to Guru. If he calls, then only you should take prasadam. So these are the do's. Now Narada Muni comes to don'ts. So Narada Muni, brahmachari, or one who has not accepted grihastha ashram. That means someone maybe even vanaprasthi or even sannyasi. So except for grihasthas, what they are supposed to do? Avoid talking with women or about women, for the senses are so powerful that they may agitate even the mind of a sannyasi, a member of the renounced order of life. Why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu forbade his followers or disciples not even touch the wooden doll of a female, of a doll which contains female features? Because the senses, it can even agitate the senses of a sannyasi also. So forget about woman in a material body, even in a form of a wooden, even in the picture one should not see. Because the contemplation, the trigger point starts from that point. Dhyayato vishayan pumsa. So from that contemplation only everything starts, then finally it ends with what? Buddhinasho pranashyati. So he will be doomed, but started with just a contemplation, just a mental thought. So that's why one should strictly avoid not just talking, even thinking about the woman. Then further, if the wife of the spiritual master is young, a young brahmachari should not allow her to care for his hair, massage his body with oil, or bathe him with affection like a mother. So because there are how many types of mothers as per the 7 types of mothers. So Guru Patni, wife of the Guru, is also considered as the one of the mother. So she is a mother. So, and because the brahmacharis are all left everything, their own bodily maintenance, they are living for the Guru's benefit. So out of affection for those brahmacharis, the Gurukula students, so sometimes the Guru Patni may take care of them, affectionately caressing on the head, or sometimes putting some oil and all. So, but if you are young and also the Guru Patni is also young, one should not allow these kind of things. So that means he is giving cautions. One may tell that, why, yes, of course, one should not talk to woman, but it is exemption is Guru Patni. So Narada Muni is covering that portion also. If she is young, we should avoid even that also. So then, further Narada Muni mentions an important principle for every brahmachari should understand. Woman is compared to fire, a man is compared to a butter pot. Therefore, a man should avoid associating even with his own daughter in a secluded place. Similarly, you should also avoid association with other women. One should associate with women only for the important business and not otherwise. So, see, Narada Muni's revolutionary teachings. Narada Muni is strictly warning not to associate with women, not to even think of women. But parallelly, Narada Muni, like Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada says that, in our community, in our society, we cannot avoid women. We cannot tell them that, women should not come to the temple or should not be in a hall where, there are some religious organizations where they are so strict. If the women are there in a hall, they don't even enter, or they have certain such rules and regulations. But in Krishna consciousness, it's not so, because it's impractical at this point of time. So Narada Muni has told that also one should associate with women only for important business, not otherwise. Yes, strictly forbidden, but also has given a what you call it as a addendum, additional instruction. If required only for that business, you can associate. If not, otherwise, no. So like for us, big dilemma is this. In the preaching movement, we are in the preaching movement. Sometimes we may have to preach to them. We may have to engage them in the services. So yes, for Krishna's sake, you can do that, but you have to be very careful and cautious not to cross that boundary. The moment you cross the boundary, what will happen? Butter pot will melt. Because fire and butter pot, if they come in contact, what will happen? Butter will get melted. It's entire spiritual life, the purpose of spiritual life becomes diluted. We have to understand this. Why again and again in different Vedic literature, scriptures, it is being discussed. Recently, I was discussing with one of our congregation devotee. So then he was telling that, he happened to meet some religious leader. So then they were openly discussing. They know that religious leader know that, this devotee follows ISKCON or Krishna conscious practices. So then he said, actually in your teachings, in your lectures and all, you use so much of sex desires or, associating with women and all so much. You should not even use this kind of words so freely. What other word we will use then? If it is in Hindi, we have so many synonyms. One may say, there are so many maituna or pati patni ka sambhog, like this kind of synonyms are there. But in English, if you want to explain, what you will use? So one has to be practical with respect to applying the principles of the spiritual life. So we have a dilemma in this thing, because we are in a preaching movement. We have to willingly or unwillingly, unavoidably, sometimes we may have to come across such. What is our boundary? What is the boundary set? Vedic literatures have given instructions and exemptions with boundaries again. Exemptions are required, but again with a boundary. So one has to exercise strict caution in taking those exemptional statements. Then further Narada Muni tells, just one more verse, we'll just finish Narada Muni's instructions. As long as the living entity is not completely self-realized, As long as he is not independent of the misconceptions of identifying with his body, which is nothing but a reflection of the original body and senses, he cannot be relieved of the conception of duality. What I said about Ichcha, Dvesha, Samutvena, Dvandva, Mohena, Bharata. So that means raising above the bodily concept of life. So that here Narada Muni is saying he cannot be relieved of the conception of duality, which is epitomized by the duality between man and woman. Thus, there is every chance that he will fall down because his intelligence is bewildered. There are liberated souls. When they see a woman, what do they see? Are they seeing flesh and blood? They are not seeing flesh and blood in the woman. They are seeing a spirit soul. So, spirit soul is neither male nor female. From Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Ramananda Raya, that very beautiful pastime is there. One brāhmaṇa, he wanted to study Bhagavatam. So he approaches Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells, you go and approach Ramananda Raya. So he goes to Ramananda Raya. So when he goes, his servant tells him, no, please wait, he is busy with some business. Then he sees that Ramananda Raya was massaging young girls, massaging their body with oil, because he was preparing them to perform a drama for Jagannath's pleasure. So this Brahmana, I forgot his name, I think it's Pradyumna, I think. Yeah, his Brahmana name is Pradyumna. So then he becomes disturbed. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you go to listen Bhagavatam from Ramananda Raya, and Ramananda Raya is massaging, which is directly against the principles of okay, even he may be a grahastha, but they are not his wife. Some other young girls. How can he do this? He goes back to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells, if you really want to understand Bhagavatam, the best person is Ramananda Raya. Again, I am telling you, if you want to understand, go to him. Then again he goes back to them, Ramananda Raya. Then he realizes that Ramananda Raya, and this time he was teaching very different moods, different bodily postures they are supposed to perform when they are performing a drama. So he was teaching all those minute things. So then he realizes, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches him that Ramananda Raya is the best brahmachari, because he is a liberated personality. So that cannot be imitated. Those instructions are there, those pastimes are there to teach us that, yes, there are not every time only when a man sees a woman, his fall down happens. If there are liberated souls, they may consider them as a spirit souls for the pleasure of the Lord, for the service sake for the Lord. But is it for us? It's a lesson for us. It's a caution for us. Unless you are liberated, you cannot imitate these kind of things. So we have to follow these regulative principles. Why? Because we are practicing sadhana bhakti. We are all sadhakas. We are not in raganuga stage. So a sadhaka means what? He has to practice sadhana bhakti. Sadhana bhakti means rules and regulations. If you practice this, you will be saved. If not, what happens? One can fall down. A spiritual havoc can happen. Pranashyati, buddhi nasho pranashyati. His intelligence is taken away and he is doomed. So that's why one has to stick to the principles mentioned for each and every ashram. In that way, can a grahastha take it as, okay, now I am married, is the marriage means now I can have unlimited sense enjoyment? No. That's why before becoming grahastha, you should have practiced brahmacharya sincerely, strictly. Then when you become grahastha, you know that, here Narada Muni mentions that. Narada Muni he mentions, all the rules and regulations apply equally to the householder and the sannyasi, the member of the renounced order of life. The grahastha, however, is given permission by the spiritual master to indulge in sex during the period favorable for procreation. So, no one can take it as a license for unlimited sensual enjoyment. Grahastha life is not meant for that. Grahastha life is meant for bringing those souls for reformation to this world through the process of garbhadana sanskara, through the process of procreation. It's a very serious business. One cannot think, oh, Acha is becoming Grahastha. Okay, I'm becoming Grahastha means now left, right, I can enjoy my senses unrestrictedly. No. If that is the mood, that means you are no better than a karmi, no better than a non-devotee. So Grihastha strictly has to remember that, this is meant, it's a serious business. Just like how Brahmachari is a very serious business, Grihastha is equally a serious business. Why it is serious? Because you have a responsibility of bringing those souls who have to get reformed and go back to Godhead. So you are, in the Brahmachari case, what happens? One has to control his mind, control his senses. The moment he becomes Grihastha, it becomes doubled. The moment a baby is born, tripled, if two, fourfold. So just imagine controlling one mind and controlling 2, 3, 4 minds. How difficult it will be. That's why it's a more responsible thing. One has to properly situate it. Then only he can maintain a proper Krishna conscious Grihastha life. Or else he will become Grihamedi, which is nothing but a karmi life. So these instructions, why the Bhagavatam has to describe about features of Devahuti, what quality she possessed, and why Kardama meditated. Basically Bhagavatam is meant for what? It's meant for renunciation. Bhagavatam, what is the purpose of Bhagavatam? When Vedavyasa wrote about all the Vedic literatures, Puranas, Upanishads and all, he was not satisfied. That's where Narada Muni comes and teaches him that, what he tells, what you have written, what you have composed is how to live happily in this world. But is it the real purpose of your incarnation? Or is it the real purpose of jivas coming to this world? How to live happily in this world? No. How to leave this world? You have to make them understand this is a horrible place. There is no question of enjoyment here. I cannot enjoy myself. If at all I want to enjoy, I have to go back to Godhead. I have to go back to Krishna. Then only I can enjoy. So you have to make them realize that. That's why all these Vedas are for those who want to really live happily. But Bhagavatam is meant for those who want to go back to Godhead, those who want to get rid of the tribulations of this material world. So then, when Bhagavatam is that to teach about renounced order of life or to develop detachment, why these things are described? These things are described to teach us that while we are in this material world, as a brahmachari, what should be your mood? As a grihastha, what is the consciousness a grihastha should practice or maintain? Because everyone are there, no? In our community, we have all kinds of devotees. Maybe except vanaprasthis, we have all the three. So all the three have to be taught. All the three have to be told about their particular ashramas, rules and regulations. So that is the purpose of Bhagavatam. So Narada Muni further describes that only the relevant portions I have read out from here. So he is teaching to Yudhishthir Maharaj what are the principles a brahmachari should follow. Why marriages are failing in the present days? Because they don't know. First of all, they don't know about these principles at all. Forget about following. They are so ignorant. These days, at least, the marriages have become like, they don't take it seriously. ठीक है, नहीं हुआ तो क्या दिक्कत है? Divorce ले लेंगे. We'll separate it out. That's why now, in maybe a couple of decades, we will see marriages will almost become extinct. Live-in will become very, very common. Because no one wants this responsible life. Marriage means a very, very responsible life. But people are not ready to take responsibility. What they want is just sense enjoyment. So once, one devotee was there, Kulshekar Das, sits in early 70s, where the number of temples were less, number of devotees were less. So Prabhupada was training this devotee Kulshekar Das to become a sannyasi. So Prabhupada was personally giving association and training him for the sannyasa. So one fine day, Kulshekar, this devotee, he decides that, okay, now it's the time to take sannyas now. So he got all his cloths ready, like, sannyasa cloth, and he shaved up. Then happily, proudly is going to meet Prabhupada to tell that Prabhupada, I'm ready now to take sannyas. So please instruct me what to do. So Prabhupada had a secretary, Shyam Sundar Das. So he happens to meet Shyam Sundar Das to ask an appointment for Prabhupada, to meet Prabhupada. Shyam Sundar asks, what is the purpose? What is the reason why you want to meet? He tells, like this, I want to take sannyas. That's why I want to meet Prabhupada and convey my decision to Prabhupada. So Shyam Sundar tells, oh, Kulshekar, it is good that, you have decided. But I have a question for you. So, do you ever think of sex? Sometimes these desires come to your mind. If that is the case, Kulshekara tells, yes, sometimes it happens, Shyam Sundar. So, if that is the case, better you get married. Because sannyasa means it's a very serious job. One should completely become free from these kind of disturbances, distractions. Then only you should become a sannyasi. So then, by then already one thought has come into Kulshekar's mind. So then he didn't meet Prabhupada that day. So he goes back. Whole night he could not sleep. Now he is thinking, he is contemplating on the words of Shyam Sundar Prabhu, that what Shyam Sundar said, there is an element of truth also. I am not completely become free from sense enjoyment. Sometimes the thought come. So if I take sannyas, that means that, I'll not be truthful to the ashrama. So then whole night he could not sleep. So next day he decides, okay, let me go and meet Prabhupada and convey this decision to Prabhupada. So he goes to Prabhupada. So then he meets Prabhupada. He said, Srila Prabhupada, I would like to get married. Prabhupada was surprised. All along for so many months I have been preaching to this boy. He was very good brahmachari. And how come he suddenly changed his decision to that, I want to get married? Then Prabhupada said, who has done this to you? What happened? Prabhupada could immediately understand this may not be his own decision. So Prabhupada clearly asked, who has done this to you? Then he says, Shyam Sundar. Prabhupada tells, Pradyumna, call Shyam Sundar. So Pradyumna Prabhu was a Sanskrit scholar who was acting as an assistant, and Shyam Sundar Prabhu was a secretary. So Prabhupada tells, Pradyumna, call Shyam Sundar immediately. So then Shyam Sundar comes and Prabhupada says, who are you to tell me brahmachari to get married? Who has given this authority to you? Prabhupada chastises Shyam Sundar Prabhu very strongly. So Kulshekar is very afraid seeing Prabhupada in that angry mood, and also putting Shyam Sundar in that spot of chastisement from Prabhupada. So then Prabhupada goes on like that. Then Shyam Sundar Prabhu replies. So because he has to tell, what is the reason why he suggested him to get married. So Shyam Sundar Prabhupada, he said that he want to take sannyas, and I told him if he ever thinks of sex life, I just asked him, have you ever, sometimes those sex thoughts come in your mind, some sensual desires come in your mind. So to that he said, yes. That's why I suggested him to get married. Prabhupada said, everyone with a material body thinks of sex life. Strongly Prabhupada says, everyone with a material body thinks of sex life. Then Prabhupada looked at Kulshekar with a compassionate mood and said, look at him. He's finished. He's gone. Just one statement of yours, his entire spirit is gone. He's so afraid. I'm able to see in his face that Prabhupada looked with compassion. Bechara, kya ban gaya inka sthiti? And Prabhupada turned back to Shyam Sundar again, and Prabhupada is saying, everyone with a material body thinks of sex. So it's not easy to become free from these mental thoughts. That does not mean that one will think of changing the ashram. This may not be the flimsy reason to change the ashram. Like in another story, Prabhupada narrates about Akbar and Birbal, where Akbar asked the question to him that when a person will become free from sex thoughts, then he tells till he dies he will never become free. Even though person may become old, his sensual organs may not be supporting, but the inner desire will not go. So that does not mean that, one will, just for this sake, he will, think of getting married. Because even after marriage, it's not that, your desires will get fulfilled. Because there also it's regulation. It's more regulation than a brahmachari. Because it's a more serious job. So if you have to take any decisions properly, we have to go through, take consultations. That's what Prabhupada is very strongly chastising Shyam Sundar. Who are you to tell my brahmachari to get married? So as a spiritual master, I am there, I am teaching him. In between you came and you spoiled him. See that fellow. He is finished. So, a principle of brahmachari ashram or any ashrama, whether it is vanaprastha or sannyasa, one has to practice sincerely, especially in the case of a brahmachari, because he is living at Gurukul in the care of the Guru. So he has to live for what? Gurur hitam. For the satisfaction, for the pleasure of Guru, not for his own pleasure. One should forget his own pains and pleasures. What should become pain is that something which is not told by the spiritual master which you are practicing, that should become the pain. And what should become the pleasure? Whatever the spiritual master has told. So that should become the pleasure for a disciple. With this, I'll stop here. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Śrīla Prabhupāda ki Nitāya Gaur Premanande.